Okay, so today we're going to dive into the life and career of Gisele Bündchen.
That sounds good.
We're using this excerpt from a text called Gisele Bündchen, a supermodel's legacy.
Okay.
And most people probably know her face, right? I mean, she's been on just countless magazine covers.
Yeah.
But this excerpt, it kind of reveals a woman who's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to try to do today is really deep dive into her journey.
Oh.
Figure out, what made her such a force in, modeling and beyond.
Okay.
And, see if we can glean some lessons from her incredible career.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really interesting about her is she's not your typical, discovered in a shopping mall, like overnight success kind of story.
Right, exactly. It wasn't like, poof, and she's a superstar.
Yeah.
It was a journey. She starts in Horizontina, Brazil, which the excerpt describes as, a small town with more tractors than fashion shows.
Right, right.
So you can imagine, her beginnings were pretty humble. And she takes a modeling course at 14, so you can see that drive was there early on.
Yeah.
But it's when she moves to New York City at 16 that things really start to take off.
Right.
And the excerpt talks about how tough it was at first. Can you imagine? Like being a teenager alone in a new country, facing constant rejection.
Oh, absolutely. That takes a certain level of, just inner strength and perseverance.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been easy to just say, like, forget this, I'm going back home.
Yeah. Yeah, pack it in.
But she stuck with it.
She did. And I think that resilience really speaks to, kind of the core of her success.
Yeah.
It wasn't just luck or, just her looks. She was persistent.
Yeah.
She worked hard at her craft. She learned English.
Wow.
She adapted to a whole different culture.
It's inspiring to hear. If you think about it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the excerpt mentions this interesting tidbit where she was actually told, like early on, that her nose was too big.
Oh, yeah, I read that.
And her eyes were too small for high fashion.
Really?
Yeah, can you believe that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
But instead of, letting that crush her, she used it as fuel.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a story.
Okay, so we're seeing like determination, adaptability.
Mm-hmm.
But how does she go from, this aspiring model to Gisele, like the icon?
Well, I think part of it is timing. The late 90s fashion scene was kind of ready for a change.
Right.
The look at the time was what they called waif, a very thin, almost fragile looking.
Right.
But then Gisele comes in with this, athletic, sun-kissed energy.
Yeah.
The excerpt describes her walk as this powerful stride, head held high, radiating confidence.
Yeah, I've seen clips of that famous Gisele walk.
Oh, yeah.
I can't even walk in a straight line.
But it's interesting how, like, one thing can become so iconic.
Yeah, so what made her walk technically different?
It was a few things. Longer strides than the typical model shuffle.
Okay.
A strong swing of the hips, and this direct gaze, like she's looking right at you, not down at the floor.
Wow.
It projected this power and sensuality. Designers loved it. She could make clothes move on the runway like no one else.
So she totally changed the game on the runway.
Yeah.
But then she takes that confidence and becomes a businesswoman.
Mm-hmm.
She launches her own lingerie line.
Yeah, exactly. And she wasn't just, putting her name on a product.
Right.
She was involved in the design, the marketing, like building a whole brand.
That's amazing.
The excerpt quotes her as saying, "I wanted to create something that made women feel empowered, comfortable in their own skin."
I love that. It's more than just fashion.
Yeah.
There's a message there. And speaking of messages, we got to talk about her environmental activism.
Right. This is where I think her legacy really goes beyond the fashion world.
Yeah.
She's been a strong advocate for sustainability for years.
I didn't realize it was for years.
Oh, yeah. The excerpt talks about her work with the Rainforest Alliance, her efforts to reduce deforestation in Brazil, her support for clean energy initiatives. And it's not just talk. She puts her money where her mouth is.
I think that resonates with a lot of people,
Absolutely.
It shows you can be successful and still fight for what you believe in.
Totally. It challenges that old idea that you have to choose between profit and principles.
Yeah. Now, we can't talk about Gisele without mentioning her marriage to Tom Brady.
Of course, Tom and Gisele. It was like a power couple phenomenon.
Yeah, they were everywhere.
And while, their personal life is their own, what's interesting is how they use their combined platform to amplify each other's work.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He supported her environmental initiatives.
Yeah.
She was a visible presence at his games. It was like a true partnership.
And even after their divorce, she's continued to build on everything she's accomplished.
Oh, absolutely. She hasn't slowed down at all.
Really?
Yeah, she's writing, producing, working on new ventures. The excerpt ends with this quote from her. I'm always evolving, learning, seeking new ways to make a positive impact.
It's inspiring,
Yeah.
So final thoughts? What's the big takeaway from all this?
I think Gisele Bündchen's story really shows us that success can be multifaceted. It's not just about one thing like looks or fame or wealth.
Yeah.
It's about resilience, continuous learning, and using your platform to make a difference.
It really makes you think, like, could someone who started as just a model become one of the most influential figures of our time?
It's definitely something to ponder.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Always a pleasure. Until next time.
Today is your lucky day. Today is the day that our $3 website works for you, paying you directly to your PayPal daily. Imagine $3 ongoing continuous payments to your PayPal account. Imagine falling asleep and waking up to $300 in your PayPal account. How would this make you feel? How could this help you? What bills could you pay? What kind of fun could you have? What does that retirement look like now? All for a one-time payment of $3. This website is DFY done for you, fully built and completely hosted, and never stops collecting payments for you. You have spent $3 on coffee on a regular, but that coffee won't help you create multiple streams of income. Click the link below.